excited to have Brecklee. Some of you have met her because some of you have been associated with the tech college, but Brecklee used to work in our marketing department. And I'll let her tell her story, but basically she started this business as a side hustle and grew it up so big that she could quit her day job and go and do full-time her personal own business. So it's amazing to have her here. It's amazing to have her, to see her success and be able to celebrate that and to learn more about it. So we'll just get right into it. So why don't you tell us about yourself a little bit, and then tell us about Breck & Co., like what it is, what do you do, you know, give us an insight into your business.
So I'm from Cedar City. I grew up here. I love Cedar in southern Utah. I went to college at SUU and I graduated in strategic communication, and I loved it. I loved my experience at SUU, and then after I graduated, I got a job at Southwest Tech, and I was part of the marketing department, and I was the recruitment girl, but I also helped Cordell with marketing and events and anything else that they needed help with, and I loved my time at Southwest Tech. I was here for 3 years, so it feels like coming home tonight, so I love to be back here. I started, while I was at Southern Utah University, there's an internship class that you have to take, and I interned with a social media agency, and I loved what I did. We kind of got a good variety of things. I was helping with Instagram and Facebook, Pinterest, websites, blogging, all the things, and I loved that. And so I've always seen people kind of have a social media agency and kind of do it on the side while they were working a 40-hour job as well. And so I started kind of just running Instagrams on the side, and I loved that just because it was a little creative outlet, something that I love to travel, and so I was like, this money can go towards our traveling, and I loved it. And my husband would always joke with me and be like, okay, if you can double your income, then you can quit your job at Southwest Tech, and we would just laugh about it. And then when COVID hit, I started Breck & Co. I was like, okay, I'm gonna level it up because I always knew that I wanted to have kids and I wanted to be able to stay at home. So I was like, okay, I want something that I can have a creative outlet, stay at home and help with the fun things like our traveling and all that stuff. So I launched Breck & Co. and within 6 months I had doubled my income, which was insane. I never thought in a million years that would happen. And then soon after that, I found out I was pregnant, and so I was done at Southwest Tech, and I went full-time. And I had about 15 to 20 clients that I was helping run their social media, so it was busy, and it was fun. And then right before I had my baby, I wasn't sure what kind of baby he was going to be. Sometimes they're amazing, but sometimes they're colicky. And so I kind of let a couple of my clients go just so that I could focus on being a mom and really pour into my clients that I was working with. And then after that, I found a passion for branding and helping people with their brands and putting their best foot forward and creating a brand that's recognizable. But I didn't want to really target the higher end clients because branding is expensive, and when you're just starting out a business, it's expensive. You don't sometimes have $10,000 to pour into branding and a website. So I created Branding in a Day, and I help do your branding in a day. And after the day's over, your branding's done, and you can move on to the next step. So my Branding in a Day is $400, so it's affordable to if you're just starting, or if you're thinking about it, or if you're somewhere in your business that you've launched, but you're not in love with your brand, or you're not attracting your ideal clients. It's something that you can use to pivot and put your best foot forward that way. So that's where I'm at now. I still do a little bit of email marketing and Instagram management, but it's more case-by-case basis. Branding in a Day is my main focus, just because I'm so passionate about that, and I love that. So that's where Breck & Co. is at today.
So tell us what Branding in a Day includes. Like, what do people get when you do that service for them, when they hire you?
Yes, so I try to make it as painless and seamless as possible because I know branding is overwhelming. So when you purchase Branding in a Day, I have you fill out a brand questionnaire, and it tells me what your brand archetype is, You give me inspiration of kind of the feeling that you're wanting your branding to have. And then we get together that day, I send you proofs, and then we just tweak and do whatever you want. So at the end of the day, you get 3 to 5 logos, you get all your typography, a brand guide. So when you go to do your website, you can hand over that brand guide to them, and everything will be on brand for your website. And then you get a mood board, color palettes, everything that you need for branding. And then if you want to, I have the option that I design custom templates for you for social media. So you already have branded templates that you just plug in the information that you want. So it's so fun. It's so much fun.
Awesome. That's such a great service for businesses.
Yes.
And for here, it's very, very applicable. So we're
Yes.
really glad that you're here speaking to us tonight. So you touched on this a little bit, like you and your husband kind of joked about, oh, when I double my income, then I can quit my job and just do a full-time business, which that's a pretty clear goal, right,
Yeah.
that you set. But was it ever scary to actually make that leap from a very steady, like this is a government job, this is a stable job with a salary, to, okay, we're gonna go all in? Was that ever scary, or was it just like, sweet, we're going for it?
I've always been entrepreneurial minded. I feel like I've always had little things, like whether it be a popsicle or lemonade stand when I was younger. I've always loved the thought of owning your own business. And I think it helped cushion that a little bit, that my husband had a good stable job. So it wasn't like I was the main income of the family. So it was a little bit easier to take the jump. But I loved my time at Southwest Tech, but there's something about owning your own business and getting to create your own schedule and kind of form it to be what your life needs at that time. So, I mean, there's seasons of slow pace, and that's fine, that's good. And then there's seasons where you're running so hard to build it and grow it and have it be what you're wanting it to be. So I think just going into it and knowing, okay, there's seasons where it's gonna ebb and there's seasons where it's gonna flow, and you just have to write it out, and it's okay. So I don't think I was scared because I knew that my husband had an income in case there was months where it wasn't bringing in the income that we needed it to be. But you can always find other little ways to help supplement that income too as a business owner. So whether that be selling graphic templates one month where it's not an official service, but it's something that's needed, you can kind of make your business what you need it to be that month.
So creativity, innovation,
Yes.
pivoting, I love it. Were there ever any challenges early on, even before you were doing it full time? Were there any challenges that made you question, okay, can I really do this? Or just growing pains that you faced that you could tell us about?
I think growing pains for sure. I don't think I really knew how fast it was going to take off. And I wish that I would have had more processes in place. I learned early on that I needed someone to help me, so I actually hired someone that helped me kind of run social media, because 15 accounts was a lot, and going over all the content and creating the calendars and making sure that everything was performing good and writing captions, that was a lot to take on, and it grew really fast. And so growing pains for sure, because I felt sometimes I wasn't giving people the best work. I'm kind of a perfectionist, and I felt like sometimes it wasn't my best, and I wanted them to be able to be like, okay, I have the best that she can offer. And so it's just growing and going with the flow and kind of being like, okay, I learned something new today, and we're gonna start a process. Another thing that was really hard for me, I'm a people pleaser. I guess I'm a recovering people pleaser now, because when you own a business, you have to learn that you have to have boundaries. So I would have people text me at like 11 p.m. and be like, hey, can you have this post go live at 7 a.m.? And I'd be like, whoa, whoa. So I had to learn to say no and to be like, okay, I can do this, but it's going to be an extra fee, instead of being like, okay, yep, I got you, we're good. So I just think those things out before you start a business. Like, okay, just think of every different scenario that could happen, just so that you kind of know, okay, this is how I'm going to handle this when or if this does happen.
So one of the things that we get asked about a lot in the Innovation Center with the clients we're working with is something that you just talked about, and that's, when do you hire somebody? It can be really scary to hand off right? Part of your business and that work. But it can also be really scary to be responsible for paying somebody. So how did you know it was time to make that leap? Was it just the overwhelmingness, or, and also how did you get comfortable with that? Because that's a big challenge sometimes.
Yes, and it's hard because your business, it's your business. I always say your business is like a baby. You want to be, you have that control, and you're like, I want it to be as perfect as it can be. And so handing that over, and I always tell my people that I do social media management for, I get it, your business is everything to you, and I want you to love what we're putting out, and I want it to feel like it's you and your business that is talking and putting these Instagram posts out. So I actually was lucky. I had a friend that went out in graphic design, and we were just really good friends. And she was looking for a little side income, so I hired her to help me. So I always like to say it's not what you know, it's who you know. It's all about the connections that you have. I also asked some of my professors at SUU, do you have a student that stands out in your class that you would recommend for an internship or something like that? Because in communications, you have to have experience, and so it's good to kind of get your feet wet and see what you love and what you don't love, and then you can go out into the world and do what you're loving. So it was easy for me because I already had that foundation with the assistant that I hired, and I trusted her work, and I felt like our style was very similar, and so it was an easy transition, and she still works for me. So it's super fun to kind of have that relationship with her and to be almost 3 years in with her. So that's, So I would say you're gonna know when you meet people if you have a good connection with them and if you know that you can trust them. And then I would just start off small, hand off a little bit and see how it works, and then you can build upon that from there.
3 years in, that is amazing. I can't believe it's been that long.
I know, it's insane.
So clearly it's established now. Are there different challenges now? Are there things that you're running into now that you're like, oh my gosh, I never even would have considered this in the early days?
I feel like kind of going back to it's okay, what am I gonna do next? Because I feel like you kind of have to come up with new things and a new way to spin your sales. Because my biggest thing is I don't want to be pushing sales all day long. I want it to be the feeling of okay, I love the brand feeling that you put off, and I want my brand to feel this exact same way. Or spin it so that it feels like yourself and you're giving off a good brand feeling. And so it's trying to come up with new ways to show people that branding is important and will set them apart from their competitors. And so it's just finding new ways to go about that. But the growth too, you want to make sure that you're giving your best work. And so I've learned that I have to limit the amount of branding in a days I do every month. I wish that I could do all of them every single month, but I do have to cap it just so I can make sure that I'm balanced in all aspects of life.
Are your clients mostly local, or are they from all over the US?
They're from all over. I just barely did a branding in a day and I thought this company was genius. She makes client welcome home gifts for realtors. So after they close or they buy a house, they can give a little gift to their people that just bought their house. And it has their information on it. So it's keychains, and then it's kind of free marketing for the realtors. So she was actually in Florida, so kind of everywhere. I've done people in Hawaii, I've done people in Washington, I've done lots of local businesses, which I love. So it's crazy how far you can be reached with social media.
That was my next question was, how do these clients find you, and how have you made it easy to find your business to help them?
Yes, so Instagram is huge. I'm still trying to get on board with the reels for myself. They're hard, and the algorithms are hard and tricky to figure out, but once you figure it out, it's really great. And word of mouth is huge. I feel like you want raving clients that are big fans of yours and always mention your name in the room. So if someone is oh, I'm struggling with my branding, I hope that my name will come up and be hey, I actually know this girl that she does this, and can tell them about their experience with me, and always say good things about it. So I always make sure that my clients love. I always ask multiple times, like, okay, but do you really love it? Tell me what other changes you want made, because I want this to feel like you and I want you to love it. And so I think just making sure that they love it and they have a good experience helps a ton. Word of mouth is huge.
Awesome. So what's next on the horizon? Do you have plans to expand your market or hire? Like, what does Breck & Co. look like 5 years from now?
I
in your
always,
mind?
I'm kind of in that tricky spot where I'm trying to figure that out too, because I feel like things are constantly changing, and so you're trying to be innovative and figure out what you can do next to set yourself apart from other businesses. So I'm happy where I'm at with branding in a day right now. Obviously, the more that I can book and the more businesses that I can help with branding, the better. I would love to eventually hire someone that will help me with branding in a day so that I can take on more branding in a days a month to help more businesses. But for right now, I'm good where I'm at. Ask me again in a couple months and I'm sure it will be different. But for right now, things are good at Breck & Co. So
Awesome.
yeah.
So one of the things that we talk about a lot with clients too is finding your niche, right? Like solving a problem. And clearly, like, you're doing all sorts of social media marketing, but branding in a day is kind of your niche, is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
How did you come up with that? The name, the cost, the niche, everything, because it's kind of unique to your company.
Yes. So I've always seen people do websites in a day, and I always thought that that was such a cool concept, because there's businesses that don't have months and months of back and forth. They're needing something right then. And so I was like, why not? Why couldn't I do that with branding? What's holding us back from being able to have a brand in a day? And I started looking into it, and I realized no one was doing it. And so I was like, okay, this is going to be a new aspect, and it could either fail or it could be really good. But I was excited to take that chance to see how it would go. And it was a little rocky at first. I think I was expecting it to take off like crazy. And it took a minute to get started. It was a slow start. But then once people kind of got the idea and they were like, oh, you actually can do this in a day, and I'm getting something that I love, it started to take off. So I feel like I learned patience, because in business you just kind of expect it to take off. So you just have to be patient, and it'll go great one day. So I just was like, I'm going to give it a shot. So branding in a day was born, and it's been so much fun. But it's just, sometimes you just have to take risks and be okay with either outcome of it. So, but risks always turn out good, in my opinion.
Yeah, was there ever a moment where the slow start where you were like, oh, this might not work?
I think for me, like, my social media took off fast. Like, I started posting about it one day, and I already had lots of people messaging me about it, because there's such a need for social media, because business owners are overwhelmed and they don't have time to worry about what's being posted on social media or creating content for social media. And so I think I was kind of expecting it to take off fast like that. But I'm actually glad, looking back, that it was a slower start, just because I could really get my process down and make sure that my deliverables were actually what I said they were going to be, and make sure that I had enough time to actually do that. So it was, now looking back, I'm glad that it was a slow start. So
yeah, in a way it allowed you to kind of prototype and perfect your product.
Yeah, yep. And I knew from the very beginning I wanted to target small business owners, because I have always loved small business owners and have always wanted to support small businesses and having a small business of my own. I know that funding and resources, like starting out, there's no way that I could have paid $10,000 for branding and a website. And so I really want to target small businesses that don't have a big budget for that, but there's a need for it. And so that's kind of my niche, and that's how I came up with my branding in a day to small businesses.
So we've been talking a lot about the fun side of owning your own business, the passion, getting to make money doing something you love. I'm going to pivot to more of the nuts and bolts of business, which a lot of times are the part people don't love to do, especially entrepreneurs, I think, because they've got a passion that they want to earn money at doing, but there's things like taxes and bookkeeping and setting up, your LLC or S Corp or whatever. Talk to us about your journey into making this an official business and what that's been like, and maybe even what you like least and what you've gotten help with.
So luckily my husband is an accountant, so he kind of helped me from the start. Like, okay, you have to keep a spreadsheet of all the things and business expenses, and I don't think I realized how much you actually needed to write off, or else you're gonna end up paying a ton of money in self-employment taxes. And I always joke with him, I'm like, you should be rewarded for owning your own business. Why are you getting hit with all these taxes? So I think just knowing that side and putting money aside, I'm not always super great at that. But like doing quarterly taxes and making sure, like, okay, because then you're not gonna have to pay a big chunk at the end of the year when it comes to that. But I think one of my biggest and hardest challenges is my own social media. Because I do social media for other people, I don't have a hard time coming up with ideas for them. I love that I can have a fresh perspective and I can come up with ideas for other accounts all day long. But when it comes to my own account, I kind of get in my head and I'm like, okay, I want this to be perfect and I want to show exactly what I'm doing. And so that is a big challenge that I'm up against right now, is being prepared with my own social media and creating engaging content. And I feel like getting in your head a lot as a business owner. If you're a business owner, you know that happens and you kind of question yourself and doubt yourself, and just trusting yourself, like, okay, I have this idea for a reason and I'm just gonna give it a try, and I need to take my own advice at that. But just being open to it, and because being an entrepreneur is so fun, but it does have challenges, and you just have to I always tell myself, don't get in your own way, because it's easy to stop yourself, especially when you're getting out of your comfort zone. You kind of just want to stay in there, but nothing ever good comes from staying in your comfort zone, is what I always tell myself. So, yeah.
Yeah, so it helped having your husband as an accountant with the kind of the accounting side of things. What about officially incorporating and things like that? Did you get help or utilize resources, or was he pretty proficient in that?
He is more, so he actually works at Dixie Tech on their accounting team, and so he always tells me, I don't do taxes, I don't know. So I actually have a CPA that I use in St. George, and he's been awesome just to help me, because the tax laws change almost every year, it feels like. And so just kind of having someone that keeps up on this, that's like, okay, change this. So I actually registered my business as an LLC, and then my CPA was like, actually, let's switch you to an S Corp, because the tax breaks are a little bit easier, especially where I have all the write-offs. And I didn't even know that. I just thought you just needed to be an LLC. And so when I had to pay that first chunk of money my first year, it was like, oh, there has to be a different way to do this. So I'm so grateful for people that know and have expertise on things that I don't have any idea on. So I would just say use your resources and kind of get an idea for what you're needing. And you kind of just learn as you go. Like, sometimes you'll be like, okay, do I need what exactly do I need? And then as your business grows, you're like, okay, I need this, and I can afford to hire someone to do my website now, and just resources like that as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that kind of information is important for people to know. I know we have a lot of entrepreneurs in here who are in various stages of their businesses, right?
Yes.
And I think it's just important to know that in addition to the passion side, there is that business side where if you don't understand the tax laws or how to incorporate your business, you won't benefit from the kinds of breaks that there are. So I appreciate you sharing that with us, and kind of not the mistake, but the learning experience to first incorporate it as an LLC and then as an S Corp with the help of the CPA. So I think that's really valuable insights for the people that we work with, and so I appreciate that. Did you ever get any other help from other resources, like maybe the Women's Business Center, or was it all just kind of, we're just pushing through and figuring this out on our own?
I wish that I would have utilized those more. I did do a mastermind, and that kind of helped me do the building blocks of my business. like my mission statement and kind of my process and my ideal client, which I loved, but I don't think I realized how many resources there are for small businesses when I was just barely starting out, like the custom fit program. Like, who knew that you could go take courses and get refunded some of the money? Like, when you're just starting out, a $3,000 course is a lot of money, and so that's nice. And I wish that I would have taken advantage of those more, and like the Women in Business Center, like just have resources to go bounce ideas off of and answer questions. I wish that I would have done that more, and I have started utilizing that more now that I know to go to the Women in Business Center, and I need to be better about attending the events and getting to know other business owners as well.
But you have used Custom Fit now too.
Yes, I have used Custom Fit.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes, I love it.
So I think this is your business, clearly it's work that you're doing yourself, but is this something that you've done all alone, like from the start, or who were your supporters? Who helped you turn this into something really, really great and what it is today?
So Abby Gale was a huge one for me. I've always kind of looked up to her. I did an internship with her and kind of learned the ropes of social media and owning your own business, and so she was awesome. When I had questions, I could text her or reach out to her, and she would answer any or be like, okay, I learned from this. This is what I would do differently looking back on it. And so it was nice to have people that I could talk to that way that had a similar business that I did, that could kind of say, it's your business, do what you want with this information, but this is how I would have done things differently. And just the support has been amazing. And I feel like when you have people that you know have your back, it's a lot easier to put yourself out there and to actually go for it. And I always see people, and it's sad to me because I feel like people are afraid to take risks because they're afraid of what other people will think. And I'm like, but they're not the ones paying your bill. Like, they're not the ones that are living your life, and you want to live your life the way that you want to live it. And they can talk, they can do whatever they want, but it's not them creating the life that you want to live. And so I think a lot of times, even on like social media stories, like Instagram stories are so hard for me because I hate getting on and talking, because I'm like, what is this person gonna think when they see me talking on social media stories, on Instagram stories? And so I think just kind of knowing, like, there's people that support me and there's going to be people that don't support you, and you just have to be okay with that. So
that's awesome advice.
But if you ever need if you have questions or need someone to talk to, reach out to me, because I would love to just be a bouncing back and forth ideas with you. So.
And it sounds like you're quite a cheerleader too.
Yes, I'll cheer you on.
So this next question is 2 parts. So I want you to tell us about what you are most excited about with your business or most grateful for. And then the other side of that, what do you wish you would have done differently as you've been building your business, or what has been the most difficult part of it?
So I feel like this kind of goes hand in hand. I'm so grateful that I can stay home and be a mom at home, because props to the moms that go into an office and work a 40-hour week job, because that would be so hard for me. So I'm grateful that I can stay home, but also the other side of that is like setting time aside, because I don't have an office where I can leave at 5 o'clock and shut work off for the day. It's always kind of there. And so I've had to set boundaries, like, okay, Tuesdays and Thursdays are gonna be my big branding in a day days. And then the rest of the time I really need to work on being present and creating memories and going and doing fun things, because emails will come in at 10 o'clock at night, and I'm always like, okay, I gotta answer this or else I'm gonna forget. So it's just kind of, as much as my business is a blessing, it also has shown me that I really need to set boundaries, especially having kids, that I need to be present there as well. And like on family vacations, I always need to tell myself, okay, I can have one day that I can answer emails or do whatever, but then I need to be present and be fully present. So I feel like that's one of the things, if you do own your own business, you have to be good at, is boundaries and keeping yourself accountable to the boundaries that you set. So
I think that is really, really important advice, because a lot of people struggle with that, especially when you're starting out and you're hustling. and you're trying to build something from nothing, it can be really, really hard to step back and say, okay, I have other aspects of my life and I need to give time to those too. So thank you for that advice. So I'm going to ask just one more question, and then we're going to open it up for audience questions.
Okay, awesome.
And this last question is, what advice would you give the entrepreneurs in this room who are just starting out? What do you want them to know that we haven't already talked about?
I think that if you have an idea, just go for it. Nothing is set in stone. So if you get into it and you're like, oh, this wasn't what I was expecting it to be, you can pivot and go a different direction. But it's just getting your foot in the door of owning your own business, to kind of see what you like and what you don't like, and then you can adjust because it's your business. So you get to call all the shots. You get to make all the decisions. And so just kind of figure out what you like and what you don't like and just go for it. I feel like once you make up your mind that you're going to do it and you start getting the ball rolling, it's a lot easier than just putting it off and being like, okay, next year when this happens, then I'm going to do it. Just do it, and then you can adjust because you're the business owner. You get to decide what's best for you, and you can grow it as big as you want, or you can fit it to your lifestyle.
Awesome. Thanks, Brecklee. Yes. So we'll open it up to questions. We've got a microphone, so if you have a question, raise your hand, and then Jeremy will bring the microphone around.
Okay, when you brand in a day, how often do people come back and have to change something on that you end up, on the average, do they change a lot on it or a little bit, or what does it take to change on your branding in a day?
So how it works is I get, like you send me your inspo, and I kind of get a feel for what you're wanting. And then usually it takes a couple times back and forth to get it perfect the way that you're wanting, but since I've been doing branding in a day, I haven't had anyone come back like a month later and be like, actually, I don't like this. We need to change this. They've all liked it so far. I'm sure that time will come, but that's why I really push throughout the day, like, okay, what do you love? What's kind of not sitting right with you? Just because I don't want it to be a headache and be like, oh, I really just don't like my branding. So I make sure that you love it by the end of the day.
All right, so for a lot of people that are getting into business, I think there's a lot of self-doubt that your skills are valuable enough to charge someone for. Mm-hmm. At what point did you go beyond, okay, when someone says, hey, will you help with social media? Sure, I'll do it, no problem, I'll just go ahead and help you out.
Yeah.
To take it to, my time's valuable, the skill's valuable, I'm gonna go ahead and charge you. How did you make that transition? And when did that happen?
I think so when I was starting out, obviously you need experience because people always ask you like, oh, can I see your resume? Like, what are you doing? What brands have you worked with before? And so I think that there's a period where you can do work for free, but after that, your time is valuable. You don't want to be spending 10 hours a week on someone's social media that you're not getting revenue for. And so I think that was hard, especially as a people pleaser, to be like, okay, I'm going to charge you. And at first, I feel like I went about it a little bit like a roundabout way, like, okay, yeah, I can do this. But I've learned the more that I've been in business to just be upfront with the price. Just be upfront with them. Be like, yep, I can do this. It's going to cost X amount of dollars. And then most of the time, they're like, awesome, let's do it. So I think just believing in yourself and backing yourself with your price and realizing your time is valuable and you can't work for free. As much as you would love to help businesses for free, you also need an income as well. And so I think just standing firm in that. And even if it's like, okay, I want to get to X amount of dollars a month, and just starting out and being like, okay, I'm going to charge $300 a month for this. And then you can work up to that price, but it's just kind of building that confidence in yourself that you are worth what you're giving to other people.
So that's actually my question. And correct me, you said $400 for the branding in a day?
Uh-huh.
How did you land there, and are you comfortable with it?
Yes, I'm comfortable with it because it's in a day, and I wanted it to be something worth my time, but also not, I kind of wanted it to be like a no-brainer in a sense, because I was targeting the small businesses. And I know a lot of people, even like $1,000 is a lot to spend on branding. And so I felt like that was a good middle ground, where it's like, okay, I have that, like I can spend that amount of money. And for me, like in a day, that's a good revenue too. So it was a good middle ground, and I feel like I will bump my prices up as I grow more. But I for sure, like it won't be anything crazy either. I want to keep it really affordable for everyone.
I have one as well, actually. So oftentimes entrepreneurs can get very overwhelmed as they just every stage of the business, all of a sudden you hit something new that you've never seen before, never had to deal with before. So like one example is probably like hiring somebody new. Like what all do you need to get somebody onboarded and on payroll and all of this stuff. And so that's just one example, but there's always, as you know, different challenges that come up, and you have to learn new things as you go. So what advice would you have for everybody to figure out those challenges and new things to work through?
So I took an event planning class at SUU, and Mindy Benson was actually the teacher, and her famous line is "nothing is a crisis," and that has stuck with me. When stuff pops up, I'm like, okay, nothing is a crisis. We're gonna figure it out, and unexpected things are gonna happen owning a business, and you just have to kind of roll with the punches. So I just always don't freak out when those things happen. There's resources that you can reach out to if you don't know the answer to, but don't let it make or break your business either. We're all learning as we go, especially in entrepreneurship. There's something new every day. And so I think just kind of being prepared for those and knowing those are gonna happen, those things are gonna pop up and happen, and being like, okay, we're gonna take this on and we can handle it. And then I'll know next time when this happens that this is how I need to approach it. So I think just being open to it and being like, okay, we're gonna do this, and every phase of your business, you're gonna have different things that pop up. So it's fun. That's when you know that you're growing, is when those challenges pop up.
Hi, I actually have a couple of questions.
Okay.
So one, I was wondering, you mentioned how much you charge for the branding in a day. How much do you charge for social media management?
So it kind of depends. I create a package based on your needs. So depending on how many Instagram posts that you need a month, or if you want more than one platform. So if you wanted Instagram and Facebook, it kind of depends. It varies on that. But if you're looking for someone, I can send you a quote, or I can help you however you need help with that. So I
Okay.
just want to make it specific to you.
The other thing I was wondering is how do you come up with content for businesses if you're not necessarily an expert in that type of business,
Yes. So what I do, I'm a firm believer in content pillars. So I actually sit down with you and have a meeting with you, and we go over the 5 main things of your business. So for example, mine would be branding, mine would be tips, mine would be client love, because you want to show testimonials, and then you kind of just rotate through those, but each of those pillars can have subcategories, and then that makes content easy to kind of rotate, and then okay, I need to hit on this because I haven't hit on this for a while. And then I always get your approval. So after I do the captions and everything, I send it over to you and get your approval. And then if you're like, okay, this actually isn't kind of our process, we just need to tweak it to this. So you're hands-on in it, but I do all the heavy lifting for you.
Hi, you talked about some of your different channels for finding new customers and clients. Have there been any that you've learned over the years that you love a little bit more, or ones you would have stayed away from in the past? Any that you're hoping, in the next few years grow much more? Could you talk to that a little bit?
So I feel like Instagram has always been my safe place. I've always been really comfortable on Instagram, and so that's where I've put all of my time and efforts into, is growing on Instagram. But in the next couple years, I would love to have a Facebook page where people can come and ask questions specific to branding, and then as well as Pinterest, because I don't feel like people realize how great of a resource Pinterest is. It's actually going to pass Google up in search engine optimization this year. It's actually amazing. And so having your business on Pinterest and having pins be uploaded, and all the pins can be redirected to your social media channels or your website. And so that's a huge thing that I want to get into going into 2024, is really optimizing my Pinterest and pushing my branding there. Yeah, it's amazing. I have some tips and tricks for Pinterest too if you need them.
Have you ever had difficult clients, and how do you deal with them?
Yes, I feel like my most difficult clients are the ones that know that I'm a people pleaser and kind of push the boundary a little bit. So they've also been a really great learning client for me too, to really know that I have to stay firm in my boundaries. But I think that every client has a story to tell, and you just have to work with them to find their story. And if you don't vibe with them, it's okay to go a different direction and tell them, I'm not the best fit for you, but this is someone that I recommend that would be a good fit for you. Scott Levitt with all the questions. Just kidding.
Another question. Okay, so you talked about hiring your first employee and doing that. Something that I think is extremely difficult is figuring out exactly what it is that you're handing off and why. So what process did you go through to figure out, yeah, maybe it's the design I want versus handing something else off entirely so you have more time for the design? What process did you go through to figure that out?
So while I was thinking about if I knew that I needed to hire someone, but I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to hand off. And so as I was going through my day-to-day tasks, I would kind of sit down and make a note, like, okay, I don't really love doing this, and it takes me a lot of time to do this, and so I would rather hand it off to someone that can be more efficient with it, that does it just as good, if not better, than I do, and then I can put my time somewhere else and grow my business that way. So as I went through those tasks, and then I kind of made my job listing, as you would say, from that, and just kind of spelled it all out. And this is what I'm exactly looking for. If you're a good fit, please reach out. But it's your business, so you get to choose what you love and what you don't like to do. And there's always someone out there that can do those jobs. So that's what I would do.
And kind of piggybacking off of that, was it a relief to pass that off, or was it still really hard? Because I know a lot of business owners, and even if you don't own your own business with a normal job, it can be very hard to designate things and really trust somebody else with it. So did you feel that at all? Was it just like easy and a relief, or was it hard to pass off some of those?
I feel like the perfectionist in me made it hard to pass it off, just because I wanted it to be work that I could stand behind. But where I also knew her and her background, it made it a little bit easier to pass off. And so I just started with like tasks that I knew I could pass off, that if something didn't work out, it was fine. I could pick it back up. So I would say start slow, and then as you build that trust and get more comfortable with them, then you can start adding more things to what they're helping you with.
So we have time probably for just one more question, if anybody has a final one.
Scott will always have questions. Yes.
You just talked about how, go ahead, do it, try it kind of thing. Has there been anything either before this business or in this business that you tried and you're like, yeah, that didn't work the way I planned, and how did you deal with it?
So I actually started a calligraphy business where I would hand letter wedding invitation, like envelopes for wedding invitations. And I learned really fast that was a lot of work, and hand lettering 500 envelopes was a ton of work and took lots of time. And so I was like, okay, props to the people that can do this, but this just isn't for me, having to sit down for long periods of time and your hand would hurt, and you always had like a strict deadline that you had to have it done. And so I think, and that's what I was kind of talking about, like start somewhere, get your foot in the door for entrepreneurship, and then you can pivot however you want to, because you're going to test things out and try new things and learn what is definitely not for you. And then you're going to find a place where you're like, yep, I'm comfortable here. I'm going to ride in this and see where this takes me. So just try all the things. And I always hear people say like niche down, but I guess I'm the outlier on that. I don't necessarily think you need to niche down. I say try it all. Like if there's something that you love, don't target it to one specific audience. See what audience it attracts most to, and then you can kind of adjust that way. But sometimes your messaging is just so off that it's not picking up the audience that you think that it would pick up. So try it all.
Okay, Scott, we'll fit you in.
Scott,
we'll
I'll fit you in.
So, I wish I'd asked her.
Okay, so you offer branding, you have some of the social media services. A lot of our clients are going to go through a phase where, I mean, marketing is one of the most important, if not the most important piece of a business, right? Jumping into that. How much should they maybe try on their own where they don't have a lot of money and resources? Like, are there any free resources you know available that they can just, this is really great to do this or this, versus, yeah, don't do that on your own, pay for it? Where's kind of that line?
I would say for sure hire out a website. DIY websites are a lot of work, and you want to be able to get your messaging right off the bat. And so I feel like for sure hire out branding, and for sure hire out your website starting out. And you can kind of dabble in social media and kind of see what works. Even if it's just simple things like behind the scenes, you're taking videos of you packaging your product, or just something you typing at your computer, and just kind of taking them through what it's like to be an entrepreneur and kind of your day-to-day and like selling your product. And then you can kind of revamp it. I do have like a freebie that I like to say. It's a content calendar that kind of walks you through like, okay, post this day. So if you want that, I'll give Tessa my email and you can email me and I'll send it to you. But just little things like that. A lot of trial and error. Test out what works with your audience. But I would say for sure don't DIY branding and website, because those are the things that people are going to see all the time. And so you want that to attract the audience that you're wanting to see that. And you want it to convert for sales.
Awesome. Well, we are out of time. Brecklee, we appreciate you so much coming and sharing your story and sharing all of this great advice to our entrepreneurs. And you're just awesome. And we're so happy for the success that you're having.
It's been fun. Thank you for coming.
Okay, thank you.